Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Naked with Dr. Money. I'm Dr. Stephanie Ardrey, known as Dr. Money, and I'm always happy to join you each week on our Wednesdays at noon Pacific time. This is where I get a chance to share a little bit of the behind scenes, peek of how I address the daily challenges as a CEO of a startup, global venture, mom, friend, confidant, partner, all of those things that we address along our daily journeys. And sometimes those journeys are not as smooth as we anticipate. And so along the way, we each day have a choice. I like to think of the choice as one that I make before I even allow my feet to leave the bed, and that is to set the intention for my day. And so how I'm able to do that is pulling from that reservoir of investment in developing a mindset. I talk about, the journey of my 40-year journey in business. I had the opportunity to have my first business at 18. And trust me, last year I went to my 40-year high school reunion. So, cat's out the bag in terms of what that journey has been and looked like over those seasons. And any entrepreneur has probably had a path that's been filled with peaks and valleys. And your peaks are one set of circumstances and experiences. But what do you do when you find yourself in a valley? How do you dig yourself out of a valley? And oftentimes life presents plenty of those valley opportunities. I mean, if we think about just the US economy, we look at how the stock market fluctuates, the economic cycles, and they're based on boom and bust cycles, or as we like to often hear discussed, bear and bull market cycles, and then some. Well, anyway, I've shared with you about the launch ZenoVerse Wellness Group, which is my global wellness and organic farming business. And so I'm in the phase of raising capital, and anyone that's ever raised capital knows that that's a journey in and of itself. So you must keep your mindset on point. Well, I'm so excited today because in interacting with social media, as we all find ourselves doing these days, on occasion you run across someone and you capture a profile or something about them and you go, oh my goodness, I want to know this person. And thankfully, social media makes a way. You can sometimes send a message and connect. And that's what happened for me with today's guest. And I am so excited. I'm going to introduce you to Trudy Eaststone. She refers to herself, she is a nutritionist and workplace wellness expert. And that's what caught my eye initially, because I said, oh my goodness, I need to feature her at our wellness resorts, because that's part of what it's about, is bringing in thought leaders that contribute to the ecosystem and help along this journey of helping you all live a full life, which is 120 years and beyond. Yes, it really is 120 years and beyond. So if you've heard about the blue zones and you've looked at the information and data that's available, full life is truly possible. And we want to help you all have a chance to not only aspire towards full life, but have a rich full life. So without any further ado, I want to bring on my guest, Trudy. We're going to have a fascinating conversation about mindset and a bunch of other things that we've weaved into that conversation. So Trudy, how are you today? And
Hi,
thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Dr. Ardrey. I'm doing fantastic. It is my honor to be here.
Well, I was so excited when I first sent the message and you said yes, and we had a chance to speak. I've been waiting, excitedly for our opportunity to connect, because I think you also have an exciting, journey in terms of how you found yourself on a wellness path and why it's passionate for you. So maybe why don't we share a little bit of that, and then we'll go into our typical, questions about mindset. Maybe that's how we'll segue into the mindset conversation. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As Dr. Ardrey said, I am a certified culinary nutritionist. I'm also the founder of Food Swap Foodie Inc. And my mission really is to illuminate the life-changing power of food for both preventing diseases as well as treating different types of diseases. I'm also a corporate wellness speaker as well. So I go to different, not just corporate wellness places, but also different events. And I talk about the power of nutrition for alleviating stress, improving your mood, and alleviating symptoms of anxiety.
Well, those are things that a lot of times people don't realize are totally related to our
Mhm.
conversation. So that's a perfect segue into my first question for you. So, mindset. Do you think that mindset is the result of your nature, how you've been nurtured, or a little bit of both?
I would say definitely a little bit of both. Here's the thing, when we look at successful people, when we look at confident people, we tend to think that they were just born that way, when they've probably been very deliberately focused and trained their mindset for success. Dr. Arjun, I'm sure you're one of those people that a lot of people look at, they're like, "Oh my gosh, she's so resilient, she's so strong." But in talking to you earlier, we've chatted a few times and you have an incredible story of resilience and how you've had to cultivate your mindset to, cultivate that resilience. And then there's the growth mindset. So there's a growth mindset and there's a fixed mindset. And for those of you who haven't heard about this before, there's actually an amazing book about this. I think the author's name is Carol Dweck, I want to say.
Oh,
But
yes.
yes, fascinating book. So essentially, a fixed mindset is believing, okay, I was born this way, my mindset is this way, I'm never going to be able to change, right? Then you have a growth mindset, which is, yes, I was born this way, I have these characteristics, I have these tendencies, but with a little practice, with a little bit of effort, I can actually improve my mindset and ultimately change my destiny. And when we look at athletes, for example, let's talk about Michael Jordan, for instance, right? One of the most incredible athletes on this planet. A lot of athletes, they talk about mindset and the importance of mindset for their success. So in that documentary, I think it was called The Last Dance on Netflix with Michael Jordan, we saw in that documentary that yes, Michael Jordan, he possesses like probably supernatural athletic abilities. However, it really was his relentless dedication to his practice and improvement that really set him apart.
Absolutely, because in the beginning, I think he was, benched on the team, so
Oh,
it
yeah.
wasn't like
Yeah.
he started off as superstar. But before I transition to that, let me ask you, so when do you think you first recognized that you had a particular mindset?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. I love that question, but I think I realized the importance of a mindset during my own journey to lose weight. So almost 10 years ago, I lost 30 pounds and I was able to lose the weight and keep it off. I wrote a whole book about it, which is behind me there on the shelf. But that was when I really realized the importance of mindset. And I hadn't really paid much attention to mindset until that point. But Dr. Arju, I had a very unhealthy relationship with myself. A lot of women do. And if you are listening to this and you're watching this, you're definitely not alone. Like some of the things I was saying to myself, I wouldn't even say that to my worst enemy. Like I was really, really tough on myself. And it was through finding Lisa Nichols. I don't know if you've heard of Lisa Nichols before.
Yes. Mhm.
Oh, phenomenal. One of my favorite motivational speakers. I found her book, No Matter What. And that was just like, it just opened the doors to personal development. It opened the doors to motivation. And I realized that I was never going to make any sort of changes with my body and with my health if I didn't love myself the way I was right then and there. Yes, I wanted to release the weight. Yes, I wanted to make changes with my health, but I wasn't going to do that by hating myself. I wasn't going to do that by talking negatively towards myself. And that's when I really started to realize the importance of words and the magnitude and the power that words hold. And in fact, that's the reason why my podcast is called The Mind Your Body Show. And the tagline is when you get your mind right, your body will follow. Right?
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it, and it's so true. It is really so true. But, it's a funny thing because I think sometimes in the culture, where in which I was raised, there were a lot of religious messages around,
Mhm.
the importance of your beliefs and, how those beliefs, form what it is you experience, right? But then it's somewhere along there, it's like it's take the power of how those beliefs manifest are outside of you as opposed to being reflected internally to you. I think I
Mm.
was blessed with an opportunity very early to have some brilliant thought leaders around me who plant are poured into this understanding. I got a chance to meet Les Brown, who was one of the leading motivational speakers
Yes.
when he began his career,
Oh,
actually
wow. Okay.
already in business, and he was beginning to introduce himself as a motivational speaker. In fact, the woman who was bringing him around, Miss Barbara Lindsay, she was the creator of the Los Angeles Black Business Expo. And at that time, I was still in Oakland, and I had my marketing communications company, and she was bringing Les Brown to Oakland for the first time. And someone had told her to speak to me. So to help with setting up that program. So I got a very early, as you say, connection to a number of these speakers who then began their journey along the way. So I remember Lisa Nichols' career at the beginning. And at that time, I really was invested in understanding the importance of building and developing, my own mindset. But what you're saying about not only understanding how we talk to ourselves, those messages that you're reflecting oftentimes are messages that either we've heard completely or we've assumed as a result of emotional trauma. And sometimes we don't realize the source of that trauma. It usually happens very early in our lives. It's something that's said by caregivers. I remember my father saying to me that he didn't want me to be chubby as a
Mm.
young girl.
Yeah.
So hearing that message of not wanting to be chubby, right? That would be a bad thing to be or become.
Mhm.
Sometimes forget how important those little messages then become messages that we say to ourselves. So you said that you began to realize that you had to love yourself and you began to plug into certain material. What other things did you use to really sort of transition from not only reframing your mindset, but then having that translate into how you were motivated to take certain actions?
Yeah, that's another great question because as a nutritionist and as a wellness coach, I get asked this question a lot. Like, Trudy, I can't get motivated to eat healthier. How can I get motivated to eat healthier? And here's the thing, like a lot of people are waiting to feel motivated. They think that there's going to be a magic wand that comes around and just kind of goes over them and boom, instant motivation. And it's that it doesn't really work like that. Motivation comes as a result of taking action. You just have to take one small action towards your goals. And, as a weight loss coach, this is something I see all the time. Like people have the best of intentions and want to lose weight or want to eat healthier. And then they change all of the things. And because they change everything at once, they're not able to stick to it. So really it's starting small. And when you start small, those small wins that you get, let's say, for example, you never drank water before, all you drank was pop. But now you've had a couple of glasses of water a day. That is something to celebrate. Those small wins, that gives you the momentum. That gives you the motivation to keep moving forward. And especially when it comes to health, a lot of people just want to see that number go down on the scale and they don't want to celebrate those victories off of the scale. And that's so important. That's actually the larger picture as far as I'm concerned, because again, that's what keeps you motivated to keep going. And added to that, I just want to say one more thing. Motivation is also aligned with our goals. I think a lot of times we have superficial goals and our goals aren't tied to our emotions. And again, going back to weight loss, and I have to say this because a lot of my clients are weight loss clients. When it comes to motivation, they're like, okay, I want to fit into the skinny jeans I was able to wear before I had, baby number one, right? And that's a superficial goal. That's not going to keep you motivated to go further. You really have to, like, when you set your goal, you have to have some emotional connection to it. So one tool that people can use is the 7 layers of why. I don't know if you've heard of this before, Dr. Ardrey.
Oh, no, I haven't. Share.
Oh, this is amazing. And this will leave you in tears. At least it does for my clients. So essentially, it's just getting deeper and deeper with the question why. It always starts with the question why. Okay. So let's say, for example, why do you want to lose weight? And the first answer might be, okay, I want to fit into those jeans I was able to fit into when I was, let's say, 25 years old. Well, why is it important for you to fit into those jeans? Well, because I want to look, sexy for my husband. Well, why do you want to look sexy for your husband? Because I want to deepen that emotional connection with him. So you keep asking yourself why and why and why until you get to the root. And when you get to the true root of it, that's when true change can occur, because now you've developed that emotional connection to your goal.
Oh my goodness, I love that. That is such a powerful tool. And I like the idea of when you have something that's simple, like seven. Seven is something that I
Yeah.
can sit through and really understand and unpack. I always say there's always a different root cause. And oftentimes we're acting in autopilot and we are not clear on our particular why. And I could say along my own journey, I recognized that there was a point where I was struggling with losing that stubborn, if you will, 15,
Yep.
last 15 pounds. And along the journey, though, one thing I was quick to realize is that by looking at a picture of myself, that would be within my realm of possibility. It was
Mm.
great looking at certain celebrities. You didn't know what surgery and photoshopping and all of that stuff. And I said, the best picture I can use is find a picture of me at what I think was my ideal weight. And when I thought that I had, the world, in my control, the world was my oyster, if you will. And I pulled that picture out, and that's what I have literally in my bathroom, this picture of
Mm.
me. And believe it or not, over the years, it seemed like, oh my goodness, it was hard. What I found that I was struggling with, though, was stress and the
Mm.
release of cortisol, and that cortisol extra toxin in my system and in tissues was poisoning me. And so until I began to detox my body, as well as detox from the emotional trauma that was deeply hidden, that I think you would begin to get to touching on by going through your 7 questions around why. But it
Mhm.
was after I sort of got to a level of unpacking and releasing some of those toxins through my grounding. My goal was to do 10,000 steps a day. I happened to have been in
Wow.
Jamaica at the time. And the healing that happens when you're barefoot in a grounding and that many steps, the 15 pounds left and then another 15-pound left. And before I knew it, you're right, I was right back. I'm literally right back to my size on that photograph that's in my bathroom, which was really interesting to go to my 40-year high school reunion wearing my high school size and weight.
I love that.
But, it ended up kind of being, and then from there it was like, oh my gosh, I have to help everyone else. That was really part of this whole impetus around the wellness. And then more importantly, because I have colleagues, I had to actually catch myself. A colleague was saying something, well, I'm focusing on topics about women with menopause or something. And I must have looked at her with the dumbest look like, oh, yeah, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not experiencing any of that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord. But
Sorry
and
it's happening to you, but
right, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to wish it on myself either, but gracefully, I'm not having those types of, hormonal imbalances. And, I don't have the extra belly fat, I don't have all of those things. And I'm really equating it to not only the work that I continue to do on mindset, but the awareness that I have to when I'm overly stressed, that I need to quickly, understand that it's not only addressing the emotional trauma, be it temporary or what have you. What are the triggers that
Mhm.
today is correlating to something in the past? So acknowledging what's happening, right? And then
Right.
more importantly, realizing that it's not only that awareness and physical, but the physical of making sure that I do some type of detox for my body internally,
Mm.
because those toxins will otherwise find a place. And anywhere that you've suffered any kind of physical trauma, then that's typically where those toxins go and align and start to set up creating parasites in your system, creating forming
Mm.
their own colonies, and that then leads to other type of imbalances that manifest as well, chronic conditions and not sick or illness
Yeah.
in your bodies. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, this journey of not only the motivation, how, mindset contributes to motivations, and how would you say that has also produced outcomes in terms of your manifestations? How have you manifested the desired outcomes?
Yeah, first I want to say, like, for anybody who's listening to this, like, working on your mindset, it's a continuous process. It's not like you're just going to recite a couple of affirmations or meditate for 5 minutes and then boom, automatically you have this Teflon mindset. It really is a practice. Like, think about it even as exercise. You don't get like big muscles overnight. It's putting in the time, it's putting in the work. So it's a continuous process. Even for someone who's a wellness expert like me, I'm continuing to work on my mindset every single day. In fact, I actually have like a little thing on my desk here I keep. It's like a little calendar. I don't know if you can see this. It's like a little daily calendar and it has like these little daily affirmations. So every day I come in the morning, I sit at my desk, I look and I see, okay, what's my thought for the day? What's my affirmation for the day? So I think it's really important to like build in these little nuggets throughout the day that helps you to continue to work on your mindset. It could even be like just putting little things in your phone. Like it could be an affirmation like I'm a healthy eater or I am enough. Whatever it is that resonates with you, I find putting in your calendar is really effective because it just pops up and then you don't even have to think about it. But in terms of manifestation, sorry, I went off track there.
That's okay. That's okay. Absolutely.
I just want people to know that because I think a lot of people think of as mindset as, like I tried it and it didn't work. And it's like, no, you just have to keep working at it. It is a practice.
Absolutely. It is absolutely a practice. I love that you make me think of another comment, but I want you to go ahead and go into manifestations and then I'll come back to that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, I think everything that I've achieved in my life is a result of manifestation, is as a result of my mindset. And even my career, as I sit right here, is a result of my mindset and manifestations. So prior to being a nutritionist, I actually was a baker and I owned a cupcake company. And it was actually quite a successful cupcake company where I would bake cupcakes for weddings and housewarming events. I would do these big installations in malls. And it was when I was on my weight loss journey, I started to learn more about the weight loss industry and the effects of sugar on your body that I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I can't continue to serve out cupcakes here, knowing what I know now about the effects of sugar on the body and what I know now about the scary things about the weight loss industry. But I had limiting beliefs about myself because I was like, well, who was going to take me seriously? I used to be, own a cupcake company. Like, even if I do go to school and get my certification, which I did, I'm like, well, who's going to take me seriously as a nutritionist, knowing that this is my background? So I had my own limiting beliefs that almost prevented me from doing this. And also, I'm a Black woman. So let's just face it, there's not a lot of Black wellness professionals. There's not a lot of Black nutritionists. So that was also something else that I almost let hold me back. But I realized the importance of, I'm speaking specifically here about, Black people, but I did realize the importance of other Black people seeing someone that looked like themselves, giving them health advice. I recognized the importance and the magnitude of that because I didn't have that when I was on my weight loss journey. There wasn't really any Black wellness professionals that I followed. Although I developed my own plan by following different types of experts, there wasn't really anybody that looked like me. And I was like, okay, well, Trudy, this is why you need to do this. So even just getting to here to this seat, I really had to work on my mindset. And my husband, my amazing husband, we'll be married for 10 years this May. And I
Congratulations.
manifested that man. A lot of my friends were single at the time, like before I met him. Sorry, a lot of my friends were married or in long-term relationships, before I had met him. And I was single for quite a while. And I was like, well, geez, when's my guy coming? Like, when's he going to show up? And I was like, you know what, Trudy, let's not focus on that. Let's just focus on yourself. Let's focus on developing this relationship with yourself. Let's focus on loving yourself. I took myself out on dates, Dr. Ardrey. I would take myself to the movies. I would take myself to dinner. I loved on myself because I knew that if I was going to attract that partner that I really desired, it first started with becoming the wife that I knew my partner deserved to have, the type of person that I knew I deserved to live with in this body. And it was only when I really started working on myself for a while that he appeared. And he's one of the most wonderful human beings I have met, like, on this planet. And yes, I firmly believe manifestations and working on my mindset, working on myself, manifested such a beautiful, loving relationship.
Wow, well, there's so much in there. Okay, so let me tell you a couple things. I know. So we're gonna probably have a part 2 or something of this because I know I wanna have an ongoing conversation. There's so much here, and I'm so excited. But to me, one thing that you said, I almost believe that I would trust you even more knowing that you had a cupcake business and then began to look at what you saw were challenges, the risks, the sugar, and then gaining additional information about how you could pivot into a new area of this is what I learned and this is why I can help. But also, I did mention that one of our brands is 420 Wellness. So we're going to talk about those
Oh,
cupcakes.
yes, yes, let's. I still got my recipe book somewhere here on the shelf, I think.
Look, we can replace the sugar with some other things.
Yes, yes, healthy food swaps. That's what I'm all about these days. It's possible.
So I can't wait to get you to Jamaica, and we'll see what we
Yes,
can bake up in that kitchen because I love
yes.
baking myself. And we'll put a pin in that. But also, I love the idea of not only manifesting the business, but also realizing how sometimes I say we have two voices. I say sometimes we hear a voice that says, do X. But before we fully begin to execute X, there's a second voice that says, nah, this is why you can't do X. This is, nah, it's not going to work. That's sort of the Y voice, right?
Mhm.
What is so important, I noticed what I had to do and constantly have to do is go, if I trust that first voice, that seems to be the guidance that's coming from what I refer to as the Almighty and the ancestors. And so I started just, as you say, daily developing muscle by whatever that first voice said to do, not question it, just execute.
Mhm.
As I began to watch the results of that obedience, I began to realize, wait a second, it's the first voice.
Yeah, yeah.
And, a lot of times we hear things like, I have to pray for discernment. We do, because you will hear conflicting messages here and there along the way. But one of the things that was really interesting, a couple of years ago, I graduated last year from law school. And so I was in the middle of law school up to my ears, building, maintaining my business, which had been impacted from COVID as well. I had a commercial brokerage firm. So when we shut down, I couldn't go and show buildings and properties. So that
Mhm.
impacted my business significantly.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I decided to go to Jamaica and spend a bunch of time there. Are you familiar with the book, A Course in Miracles?
Yes, yes.
Have you done the course?
It's a very thick book. I
So
haven't gotten through it all, but yes, I am very familiar with it. I have not done the course.
So I hadn't done the course completely yet either. And it was, I think I'm going to say in 2021, about summertime, that Spirit said, you're going to do the course
Mm,
and you're going to finish the course. And the reason that you're going to get through the course is because you're going to be a guide to bring other folks through the course.
mm.
And I was thinking to myself, I'm right in the middle of law school. I'm already complaining about the 70 hours a week of stuff, like I'm living two lives. I'm working a day life of, 40, 60 hours in the daytime and then the
Oh,
nighttime,
wow.
another 60 hours and Saturdays and
Oh.
Sundays. Like, where do but again, obedience.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
lo and behold, the beginning of January of 2022, I think it was, I went through the course. And as soon as I got through the course, I knew I was going to do the course again. So 2023, I went through the course. Here it is, 2024. I am doing the course again. And what I've realized is that each year that I go through the course, certainly different lessons appear differently as I
Mhm,
continue to evolve along my journey. But as
mhm.
you alluded to earlier, it's about developing a practice. So
Uh-huh,
when you
yeah.
begin to find things that feed you, that help you stay in alignment, listen, on a day to day basis, we talked about advertising. We're being messaged with a bunch of messages all day
Mhm.
long, whether we think we are aware or not of those messages. And not all of those messages are beneficial for us. Many of them, in fact, send fear and create more trauma, set up triggers. So the things that you do for yourself, to me, they are sowing proper seed and nutrition into your being
Mhm.
so that your being can flourish. And so mindset, yes, is just like that. It's that discipline of
Mhm.
being obedient to the things that will feed you on a daily basis. And what you had yesterday, you may have a little bit of it, but it slowly is depleted each day if you don't go back and replenish, those things. So I love what you were sharing about the importance of recognizing the daily journey, the fact that you have a calendar and other things. What are
Mhm.
some of the additional things that you think are not only helpful that you use, but also some of the things that you coach some of your clients in using as tools for their daily journey of wellness?
Yeah, a couple of things. So, back in I think it was like maybe 2021, like I was going really hard. Like a lot of people started pulling back during the pandemic, but my business picked up because a lot of people were looking for wellness coaching. So I think 2021 was when things started to like aches and pains and all these things started to settle in. A lot of diabetes diagnosis because people are sitting on the couch, they're not moving, they're eating a lot of food. So I was working a lot more and I felt myself approaching burnout. And in fact, I actually think I hit burnout in 2021. And I had to stop and I had to look at my life and I said, okay, Trudy, you can't keep going like this. And I'm sure you've heard the analogy, you can't pour from an empty cup. So
Yes.
I looked at my life and I said, okay, Trudy, where can we pull back? Like, what can we do here? Part of it was I was doing all the things in my business and I didn't want to release control. So, one of the lessons I've learned was we have to allow people around us to support us. Now, that is a practice I'm still trying to learn. Again, going back to a Black woman, we don't like accepting help. But, it's still something I'm working on accepting help from others, whether it's leaning on my friends, my family, leaning on my amazing assistant that I now have, and just not taking everything on yourself. Because when you take everything on yourself, that's when you're setting yourself up for burnout. But another thing I've done was, taking Saturdays off. So I was working 7 days a week. And I was like, okay, Trudy, no wonder you're burnt out here. Like you can't work 7 days a week. Because prior to being a nutritionist, I was in the corporate world for about 13 years. And I was like, okay, well, Trudy, when you're in the corporate world, you work 5 days a week and you took the weekends off. So why do you think now that you can work 7 days a week? So one of the things I started doing was I stopped working on Saturdays. And I have to say, it's one of the best things I've done for myself, my business, my marriage, my friendships, my family. And I'm glad you talked about, ancestors and spirit earlier, because when I'm sitting in silence, that's when all the good ideas come. That's when spirit speaks to me. And I think in this culture we're in now, we're always on, checking things off the list, going from thing to thing to thing. We're never stopping just to check in with ourselves. And sometimes it's just stopping in the day. Like, you're stressed. You feel that stress in your body. Sometimes it's just stopping and asking yourself the question, Stephanie, how are you feeling right now?
Oh, it's
And
totally that.
and start naming some things. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling okay. Well, Stephanie, how would you like to feel? I want to feel confident. I want to feel joyful. I want to feel calm. Okay, well, what's one thing you can do to move you in the direction of that goal? And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be pulling up Dave Chappelle on YouTube and watching something funny, or cat videos, whatever it is that it is for you. It could be calling up that friend that always makes you laugh until you pee. Like, it could be listening to a favorite song of yours, right? Just trying to change your state as quickly as you can. And it's okay to feel the feelings, but don't take out real estate there. Don't stay there. Try to change your state as quickly as you possibly can. And again, I'm telling you, you need that time for yourself. You need to sit in that solitude. And I know a lot of people are afraid to sit in solitude and to sit in loneliness because they're afraid of what's going to come up. But that might be the exact thing that needs to be revealed to you so you can start to take the steps to move your life into a different direction.
Oh, you are definitely touching on such valuable nuggets. As always, it seems like these conversations are so rich and our time comes and goes so fast. We're already at the top of our time. I just want to say one thing and then I'll let you kind of
Yeah.
close this out. And that is, you've delivered so many valuable nuggets. I'm so excited to know that we'll continue this conversation. I can't wait to have you live at our various locations on a fireside chat, a cupcake making demonstration,
You got it.
and more. But what I find so important and rich as it relates to the gift is that as we're along our journeys, I love being able to share because, like you said, we're all going to experience times where we find ourselves having a little bit louder voice. And it might not be the most desired voice, but guess what? You can stop it by stopping and pausing, giving yourself an opportunity to breathe. And one of the things that you said is what I found myself doing after I graduated from law school. I was exhausted in a different way. And I really, because I already started this new venture kind of while in law school, I didn't think that I could stop. So the Almighty set me down. I literally came to a point where my voice was taken away from me. And I remember I spent a weekend in silence. And
Mm.
it was the best, most healing experience that I could have. And so from there, I made it a point of saying, I'm going to take my weekends in silence as I need to,
Mhm.
because so many things manifested. I didn't talk to anyone. I just pull out my I like to whiteboard. So my white blank pads, just created my journals, all my favorite foods, my music. I could have my music. So I had some music and it was just silence. And wow, what a gift. I can't wait to
Oh,
bring a group of, women and men, to our environments and allow them to experience, 24 to 48 hours or more of silence,
mhm,
because it's such a gift. And then
mhm.
I'll let you, kind of respond or share any closing thoughts.
Yeah, I would also say, like, I want to add one thing in terms of mindset. And I know it's been talked about before. It's probably a cliche, but it's gratitude. And gratitude is also another way to change your state as quickly as you possibly can, because it's hard to feel gratitude and sadness or gratitude and anger at the same time. Like, if you're listening to this right now, be grateful that you can hear, because there's a lot
Yes.
of people who can't. If you're listening to this or watching this in your car, be grateful you have a car. A lot of people wish they had a car, wish they could afford one, but they can't. If you're sitting in your house watching this, you have four walls around you. You have a home. You probably have somebody that you share that home with. So focus on those things that you're grateful for and don't take those things for granted.
Oh man, gratitude. Yes.
Yeah.
We could do an entire show on
Yeah.
gratitude,
Yeah.
and even I remember so many times hearing even Oprah refer to times along her journey where it was really challenging. And then, Dr. Maya Angelou, for example, saying, you start a gratitude journey. Just write today what you're grateful for.
Mhm.
I don't know, I'm not grateful. Find one thing.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, write two things, and before you know it, you begin to really, really impact and create a state change. Well,
Mhm.
Trudy, thank you so much. How can people get in contact with you? I know we have information scrolling on the bottom, but just in case someone is not able to read it, let's tell them how they can find you.
Yeah, I would say I'm probably most active on Instagram. So you can find me at Trudy E. Stone on Instagram. Facebook, not so much active there, but Trudy E. Stone on Instagram. You can also find me on YouTube. I'm Food Swap Foodie on YouTube, but if you just search Trudy Stone, I'm sure I'll come up. And I'm also on LinkedIn as well, Trudy E. Stone.
Fantastic. Well, it was so delightful to have a conversation with you today. And like I said, I know this is one of many more to come. Those of you who are interested, please reach out and look up Trudy and get more information about how she can assist you along your wellness and nutritional journey. I know I sure will continue to refer and include her in our network, our ecosystem of solution providers, looking to really help, because it's something that we believe. It's different when somebody's saying, oh, it's the trend. No, 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 no. We're living
Yeah,
our beliefs, and that tends to land a little bit differently.
it absolutely does. Yeah.
All right. Well, again, I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much for joining me today on Naked with Dr. Money.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Ardrey. It's been my pleasure to be here.
All right. You be well.
You too.
Thank you. Well, guys, here it is again. We've come and we've started and we've completed our conversation. I hope that you found some inspiration from this conversation. Maybe you found a nugget or two that you could use along your journey. That's what this is all about. Each week, when I come and share a conversation with an outstanding guest, the goal is to talk about mindset, motivations, and manifestations, because I know that you too can rely upon each of those developments for yourself to manifest whatever your desires are. So remember, if it's Wednesday, noon Pacific, it's time for Naked with Dr. Money. Looking forward to seeing you again next week. Take care and be well.